Kurt, you know, the president, of course, grabbed onto this and has not let go, despite the fact that he's on a critically important 12-day trip to Asia. He's tweeting about the revelations. He's demanding the Justice Department look into the Clintons and the Democrats. He calls it dishonesty. But the bottom line is he had a similar joint fundraising agreement with the Republican National Committee. What is the difference here?
You know, I think the difference is that, as has been talked about, there's been this already thought out that the Democrats were fighting a rigged primary, that Bernie Sanders and the progressives didn't really have a fair shot, an equal playing field, and then this comes out. It's really just adding, fuel to the fire. The key thing in the memo, though, is it talked about general election, and I don't know any election that we've had where the RNC or the DNC nominee didn't want to have control over those apparatuses once it became the general election candidate.
Liz, are you shaking your head?
No, I'm agreeing. And look, and I think Kurt would agree with this as well, is that, oftentimes the DNC, the RNC, they're sort of the redheaded stepchilds. And the nominees do sort of brush them aside and try to exert complete control over them. So I agree with everything that he just said.
Liz, you go ahead, Kurt.
And I think the key thing here is every single moment, every single day that this conversation happens where Democrats are fighting Democrats, that's a day that Donald Trump is getting by. That's a day that strengthens Republicans. And when we get to the 2018 midterms, and if Republicans retain control of the House and the Senate, despite having a president who's got historically low approval ratings, if that happens, look back on days like this of missed opportunities, wasted time, where Democrats are relitigating the last election. It does nothing to help them win the next election.
Well, Kurt, we don't have to wait for 2018. Liz, on Tuesday, Democrats have a Virginia governor's race where they need to win, and then the midterm elections around the corner. You think Democrats will be able to unify going forward after all of this?
Yeah, I do. And this is a very, very, very insider conversation. There are definitely people who have been very vocal, and there are people who are trying to exploit this. But no one who's voting on Tuesday is going to say, I'm sitting at home, I'm not going to go out and knock on doors because of something that Donna Brazile wrote in her book. And it's great, it's good for us to talk about these things, but it is sort of time to move forward. We knew this was happening at the time, and now it's the time to sort of learn from our mistakes, internalize them, and go forward and unite for Tuesday and for 2018.
Kurt, I got to ask you about the other big one from this morning. There's a new book about former presidents George H.W. Bush and George W. Bush, and it's got some amazingly harsh words about President Trump. H.W. says, I don't like him. I don't know much about him, but I know he's a blowhard, and I'm not too excited about him being a leader. How are Republicans going to react to all these comments?
I think that he said exactly what many Republicans privately feel, what almost every Republican on Capitol Hill probably feels about Donald Trump, certainly what I feel about Donald Trump. And I'll tell you, it's amazing how candid people can be when they don't have to run for anything anymore. We've seen it recently with the retirements of Senator Corker, Senator Flake, and obviously with the comments of President Bush, the elder. And again, I think as time goes on, you're going to see a lot more Republicans just calling out what they see when it comes to Donald Trump, which is he is a blowhard and he's dangerous.
Kurt Bardella, Liz Smith, we're going to leave it there. Thank you both very much. Appreciate it. Good to see you guys. Coming up, who knew what and when Trump advisors admit to meeting with Russian officials during the 2016